You are about to experience Jackson Snyder Presents. We will examine the life of our Master Yeshua by discovering his ancestors, family, and friends, by reviewing rare ancient manuscripts, and speaking to those who know him best from the Vero Yahad at yahad.us. Now experience Jackson Snyder Presents.
The Book of Tobit, son of Teviel, son of Ananiel, son of Aduel, son of Gabiel, of the lineage of Aziel, in the tribe of Naphtali. He was exiled from Thisbe, which is south of Kadesh Naphtali, in Upper Galilee, above Hazor, some distance to the west, north of Shephat. I, Tobit, have walked in paths of truth and in good works all the days of my life. I have given much in alms to my brothers and fellow country folk, exiled like me to Nineveh, in the country of Assyria. In my young days, when I was still at home in the land of Israel, the whole tribe of Naphtali, my ancestor, broke away from the house of David and from Jerusalem. Though this was the city chosen out of all the tribes of Israel for their sacrifices, here, the temple, Elohim's dwelling place, had been built and hallowed for all generations to come. All my brothers in the house of Naphtali sacrificed on every hilltop in Galilee to the calf that Jeroboam, king of Israel, had made at Dan. Often I was quite alone in making pilgrimage to Jerusalem, fulfilling the law that binds all Israel perpetually. I would hurry to Jerusalem with the first yield of fruits and beasts, the tithe of cattle, and the sheep's first shearings. I would give these to the priests, the sons of Aaron, for the altar, and to the Levites ministering at Jerusalem I would give my tithe of wine and corn, olives, pomegranates, and other fruits. 6 years in succession I took the second tithe in money, and I went and paid it annually. I gave the third to orphans and widows, and to the strangers who live among the Israelites. I brought it them as a gift every 3 years. When we ate, we obeyed both the ordinances of the law of Moshe and the exhortations of Deborah, the mother of our ancestor Ananiel. For my father had died and left me an orphan. And when I came to man's estate, I married a woman for my kinsfolk whose name was Anna. She bore me a son whom I called Teviah. When the banishment to Assyria came, I was taken away and went to Nineveh. All my brothers and the people of my race ate the food of the heathen, but for my part, I was careful not to eat the food of the heathen. And because I had kept faith with my Elohim with my whole heart, the Most High granted me the favor of Shalmaneser, and I became the king's purveyor. Until his death, I used to travel to Media, where I transacted business on his behalf, and I deposited sacks of silver worth 10 talents with Gabael at Ragas in Media. On the death of Shalmaneser, his son Sennacherib succeeded. The roads into Media were barred, and I no longer could go there. But in the days of Shalmaneser, I had often given alms to the people of my race. I gave my bread to the hungry and clothes to those who lack them, and I buried, when I saw them, the bodies of my country folk thrown over the hills of Nineveh. I also buried those who were killed by Sennacherib. When Sennacherib was beating a disorderly retreat from Judea after the king of heaven had punished his blasphemies, he killed a great number of Israelites in his rage. So I stole their bodies to bury them. Sennacherib looked for them, and he could not find them. A Ninevite went and told the king it was I who had buried them secretly. When I knew that the king had been told about me, and saw myself being hunted by men who would put me to death, I was afraid, and I fled. All my goods were seized. They were all confiscated by the treasury. Nothing was left me but my wife Anna and my son Teviah. Less than 40 days after this, the king was murdered by his 2 sons, who then fled to the mountains of Ararat. His son Esarhaddon succeeded. Ahikar, the son of my brother Anael, was appointed chancellor of the exchequer for the kingdom and given the main ordering of affairs. Ahikar then interceded for me, and I was allowed to return to Nineveh, since Ahikar had been chief cupbearer, keeper of the signet, administrator, and treasurer under Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and Esarhaddon had kept him in office. Now, he was a relative of mine. He was my nephew. In the reign of Esarhaddon, therefore, I returned home, and my wife Anna was restored to me with my son Tevya. At our feast of Pentecost, that is, the Feast of Weeks, there was a good dinner. I took my place for the meal. The table was brought to me, and various dishes were brought. I then said to my son Tevya, "Go, my child, and seek out some poor, loyal-hearted man among our brothers exiled in Nineveh, and bring him to share my meal. I will wait until you come back, my child." So Tevya went out to look for some poor man among his brothers, but he came back and he said, "Father, one of our nation has just been murdered. He has been strangled and then thrown down in the marketplace. He is still there." Why, I sprang up at once, left my meal untouched, took the man from the marketplace and laid him in one of my rooms, waiting until sunset to bury him. I came in again and washed myself, and I ate my bread in sorrow, remembering the words of the prophet Amos concerning Bethel. "I shall turn your festivals into mourning, and all your singing into lamentation." And I wept. When the sun was down, I went and dug a grave and buried him. Oh, my neighbors laughed and said, "See, he is not afraid anymore." You must remember that a price had been set out of my head earlier for this very thing. Once before he had to flee, yet here he is beginning to bury the dead again. But that night I took a bath. Then I went into the courtyard and lay down by the courtyard wall. Since it was hot, I left my face uncovered. I did not know that there were sparrows in the wall above my head. Their hot droppings fell into my eyes. This caused white spots to form, which I went to have treated by the doctors. But the more ointments they tried with me, the more the spots blinded me, and in the end I became completely blind. I remained without sight 40 years. All my brothers were distressed on my behalf, and Ahikar provided for my upkeep for 2 years until he left for Elimaeus. Now, my wife Anna had to undertake women's work. She would spin wool and take cloth to weave, and she used to deliver whatever had been ordered from her and then receive payment. Now, on the 7th day of the month of Distros, she finished a piece of work and delivered it to her customers. They paid her all that was due, and into the bargain presented her with a kid for a meal. Then when the kid came into my house, it began to bleed. I called my wife and said, "Where does this creature come from? Suppose it has been stolen. Let the owners have it back. We have no right to eat stolen goods." She said, "No, it was a present given me over and above my wages." I did not believe her, though, and told her to give it back to the owners. I felt deeply ashamed of her. To which she replied, "What about your own alms? What about your own good works? Everyone knows what return you have had for them." Then, sad at heart, I sighed and wept. And I began this prayer of lamentation. "You are just, O Yahweh, and just are all your works. All your ways are grace and truth, and you are the judge of the world. Remember me. Do not punish me for my sins or for my needless faults or those of my ancestors. For we have sinned against you, and we have broken your commandments, and you have given us over to be plundered, to captivity and death, the laughingstock and scorn of all the nations among whom you have dispersed us. And now we have found all your decrees are true, when you deal with me as my faults deserve. For we have neither kept your commandments nor walked in your truth before you. So now do with me as you will, but be pleased to take my life from me, so that I may be delivered from earth and become earth again. Better death than life for me. O Yahweh, be pleased to deliver me from this affliction. Let me go away to my everlasting home. Better death for me than life prolonged in the face of unrelenting misery. Now it chanced on the same day that Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, who lived in Media, also heard insults from one of her father's maids. For she had been given in marriage 7 times, and Asmodeus, the worst of demons, had killed her bridegrooms one after another before ever they had slept with her as man and wife. The servant girl said, "Yes, you kill your bridegrooms yourself. That makes 7 already to whom you have been given, and you have not once been in luck yet. Just because your bridegrooms have died, that is no reason for punishing us. Go and join them, and may we be spared the sight of any child of yours." That day she grieved. She sobbed. She went up to her father's room intending to hang herself. But then she thought,
suppose they were to blame my father. They would say, "You had an only daughter whom you loved, and now she has hanged herself for grief. I cannot cause my father a sorrow which would bring down his old age to the dwelling of the dead. I should do better not to hang myself, but to beg Yahweh to let me die and not live to hear any more insults."
And at this, by the window with outstretched arms, she prayed this prayer.
Oh, you are blessed, O Elohim of mercy. And now I turn my face and I raise my eyes to you. Let your word deliver me from the earth. I can hear myself insulted no longer. You know that I have remained pure. No man has touched me, and I have not dishonored your name or my father's name in this land of exile. I am my father's only daughter, as no other child is heir. I have lost 7 husbands already. Why should I live any longer? If it does not please you to take my life, then look on me with pity.
This time, the prayer of each of them found favor before the kavod of Elohim, and Raphael was sent to bring remedy to them both. He was to take the white spots from the eyes of Tavit, so that he might see Elohim's light with his own eyes, and he was to give Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, as bride to Tevye, the son of Tavit, and to rid her of Asmodeus, the worst of demons, for it was to Tevye before all other suitors that she belonged by right. Tavit was coming back from the courtyard into the house at the very same moment as Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, was coming down from the upper room. The same day Tavit remembered the silver that he had left with Gabael at Rages in Media, and he thought, "I have come to the point of praying for death. I should do well to call my son Tevye and tell him about the money before I die." So he summoned his son Tevye and told him, "Son, when I die, give me an honorable burial. Honor your mother and never abandon her all the days of your life. Do all that she wants and give her no reason for sorrow. Remember, my child, all the risks she ran for your sake when you were in her womb. And when she dies, bury her at my side in the same grave. So, my child, be faithful to Yahweh all your days. Never entertain the will to sin or to transgress his laws. Do good works all the days of your life. Never follow ways that are not upright. For if you act in truthfulness, you will be successful in all your actions. Never turn your face from the poor, and Elohim will never turn his face from you. If you have much, give more. If you have little, do not be afraid to give less alms. So doing, you will lay up for yourself a great treasure for the day of necessity. For almsgiving delivers from death. And my child, avoid all loose conduct. Choose a wife of your father's stock. Do not take a foreign wife outside your father's tribe, because we are the children of the prophets. Remember Noah, Abram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. All of them took wives from their own kindred, and they were blessed in their children, and their race will inherit the earth. You too, my child, must love your own brothers. Never presume to despise your brothers, the sons and daughters of your people. Choose your wife from among them. For pride brings ruin. And do not keep back until next day the wages of those who work for you. Pay them at once. If you serve Elohim, you will be rewarded. Be careful, my child, in all you do. Well disciplined in all your behavior. Do to no one what you would not want done to you. Do not let excess be your traveling companion. Give your bread to those who are hungry and your clothes to those who lack clothing. Of whatever you own in plenty, devote a proportion to almsgiving, and when you give alms, do it ungrudgingly. Ask advice of every wise person. Never scorn any profitable advice. And bless Yahweh Elohim in everything. Beg him to guide your ways and bring your paths and purposes to their end. For wisdom is not the property of every nation, you know. Their desire for what is good is conferred by Yahweh only. At his will he lifts up, or he casts down to the depths of the dwelling of the dead. So now, my child, remember these precepts, and never let them fade from your heart. And I must tell you, I have left 10 talents of silver with Gabriel, son of Gabrias, at Ragas in Media. Do not be afraid, my child, if we have grown poor. You have great wealth if you fear Elohim, if you shun every kind of sin, and if you do what is pleasing to Yahweh your Elohim.
Tevye then replied to his father Tevit, Father, I shall do everything you have told me, but how am I to recover the silver from him? He does not know me, nor I him. What token am I to give him for him to believe me and hand the silver over to me? Besides, I do not know what roads to take for this journey into Media. Then Tevit answered his son Tevye, Each of us has set his signature to a note that I cut in two, so that each could keep half of it. I took one piece and put the other with the silver. To think, it was 20 years ago I left the silver in his keeping, and now, my child, find a trustworthy traveling companion. We shall pay him for his time until you arrive back, and then go and collect the silver from Gabriel.
Tevye went out to look for a man who knew the way to go with him to Media. Outside he found Raphael, the angel, standing facing him, though he did not guess he was an angel of Elohim. He said, Where do you come from, friend? The angel replied, I am one of your brother Israelites. I have come to these parts to look for work.
Tevye asked, Do you know the road to Media?
The other replied, Certainly I do. I have been there many times. I have knowledge and experience in all the ways. I have often been to Media and stayed with Gabriel, one of the kinsmen who lives in Ragas in Media. It usually takes 2 full days to get to Ragas.
Tevye said, Wait for me, friend, while I go tell my father. I need you to come with me. I shall pay you for your time.
The other replied, Good, I shall wait, but do not be long. Tevye went in and told his father that he had found one of their brother Israelites. And the father said, Fetch him in, fetch him. I want to find out about his family and tribe. I must see if he's going to be a reliable companion for you, my child. So Tevye went out and called him.
Friend, oh friend, he said, my father wants to meet you.
The angel came into the house. Tevit greeted him, and the other answered, wishing him happiness and plenty. Tevit replied, Can I ever be happy again? I am a blind man. I no longer see the light of heaven. I am sunk in darkness like the dead who see the light no more. I am a man buried alive. And I hear people speak, but I cannot see them. The angel said, Take comfort. Before long Elohim will heal you. But now, take comfort. Tevit said, My son Tevye wishes to go to Media. Will you join him as his guide? Brother, I will pay you. He replied, I am willing to go with him. I know all the ways. I have often been to Media. I have crossed all its plains and mountains, and I know all its roads. Tevit said, Brother, what family and what tribe you belong to? Will you tell me, brother? What does my tribe matter to you? The angel said. Tevit said, I want to be quite sure whose son you are and what your name is. The angel said, I am Azariah, son of the great Ananiah, one of your kinsmen. Oh, very well, welcome and greetings, my brother. Do not be offended at my wanting to know the name of your family. I find you all my good kinsmen, and of a good honorable line. I know Ananiah and Natan, the 2 sons of the great Shemaiah. They used to go to Jerusalem with me. We have worshipped together there, and they have never strayed from the right path. Your brothers are worthy men. You come of good stock. Oh, welcome, welcome. David went on to say, well, I engage you at a drachma a day, with the same expenses as my own sons. Complete the journey with my son, I say, and I shall go beyond the agreed wage. The angel replied, I shall complete the journey with him. Do not be afraid. On the journey outward, all will be well. On the journey back, all will be well. The road is safe. David said, Blessings, blessings on you, brother Baruch. Then he turned to his son. My child, prepare what you need for the journey and set off with your brother. And may Elohim in heaven protect you abroad and bring you both back to me safe and sound. May his angel go with you and protect you, my child. Tevye left the house to set out and kissed his father and mother. David said, Oh, a happy journey to you both. His mother burst out into tears and said to David, Why must you send my child away? Is he not the staff of our hands, as he goes about before us? Surely money is not the only thing that matters. Surely it is not as precious as our child. The way of life Elohim has given us was good enough, wasn't it? He said, Do not think such thoughts, woman. Going away and coming back, all will be well with our child. You will see for yourself when he comes back safe and sound. Do not think such thoughts. Do not worry on their account, my sister. A good angel will go with them, you see. He will have a good journey and come back to us well and happy. And Mrs. Tevit dried her tears. The boy left with the angel, and the dog followed behind. The two walked on, and when the first evening came, they camped beside the Tigris. The boy had gone down to the river to wash his feet when a great fish leapt out of the water and tried to swallow his foot. The boy gave a shout, Help! And the angel said, Catch the fish, do not let it go. The boy mastered the fish, and he pulled it onto the bank. The angel said, Cut it open, Tevye. Take out the gall, heart, and liver. Set these aside and throw the entrails away, for gall and heart and liver, they have curative properties. The boy cut the fish open and took out gall and heart and liver. He fried part of the fish for his meal and kept some of it for salting. Then they walked on together almost until they were in Medea. Then the boy asked the angel this question, Brother Ashurias, what can this fish's heart, liver, and gall cure? The angel replied, You burn the fish's heart and liver, and their smoke is used in case of a man or a woman plagued by a demon or evil spirit. Any such affliction disappears for good, leaving no trace. As regards to the gall, this is used as an eye ointment for anyone having white spots on his eyes. After using it, you have only to blow on the spots to cure them. They entered Medea when Raphael said to the boy, Brother Tevye, Yes? Tonight we are to stay with Raguel, who is a kinsman of yours. He has a daughter called Sarah, but apart from Sarah, he has no other son or daughter. Now you are her next of kin. She belongs to you before anyone else, and you may claim her father's inheritance. She is a thoughtful, courageous, and very lovely girl, and her father loves her dearly. You have the right to marry her. But listen, my brother, this very evening I shall speak about the girl to her father and arrange for her to be betrothed to you. And when we come back from Ragas, we can celebrate the marriage. And I assure you, Raguel have no right whatsoever to refuse you or to betroth her to anyone else. That would be asking for death, you see, as prescribed in the Book of Moshe. Once he is aware that kinship gives you the preeminent right to marry his daughter. So listen, my little brother, this very evening we shall speak about the girl and ask her hand in marriage. And when we come back from Ragish then, we shall fetch her and take her home with us. Tevye replied to Raphael, Brother Azarias, I have been told that she has already been given in marriage 7 times, and that each time a bridegroom has died in the bridal room. He died the same night as he entered the room. And I have heard people say it was a demon that killed them, and this makes me afraid. To her the demon does no harm because he loves her, but as soon as a man tries to approach her, he kills him. I am my father's only son, you see, and I have no wish to die. I do not want my father and mother to grieve over me for the rest of their lives. They have no other son to bury them. The angel said, Have you forgotten your father's advice? After all, he urged you to choose a wife from your father's family. Well, then listen, boy. Do not worry about this demon. Just take the girl. This very evening, I promise, she will be given you as your wife. And then, once you are in the bridal room, take the heart and the liver of the fish and lay a little of it on the burning incense. The smell, I should say, a reek will rise up. The demon will smell it and flee, and there is no danger that he will ever be found near this girl again. Then before you sleep together, first stand up, both of you, and pray. Ask Yahweh of heaven to grant you his grace and protection, and do not be afraid. She was destined for you from the beginning, and you are the one to save her. She will follow you, and I pledge my word she will give you children who will be like brothers to you. Do not worry.
Let's take a little break for some important announcements. We'll be right back with Jackson Snyder Presents.
And when Tevye heard Raphael say this, when he understood that Sarah was his sister, a kinswoman of his father's family, he fell so deeply in love with her that he could no longer call his heart his own.
Tevye said, Brother Azarias, take me at once to our brother Raguel's.
And he showed him the way to the house of Raguel, whom they found sitting beside his courtyard door. They greeted him first, and he replied,
Oh, welcome and greetings, brothers.
And he took them into his house. He said to his wife Edna,
How like my brother Tavit, this young man is.
Edna asked them where they came from. They said, We are sons of Naphtali, exiled in Nineveh.
Do you know our brother Tavit?
Yes.
How is he?
He is alive and well.
And Tevye added, He is my father, you see.
Raguel leapt to his feet and kissed the boy and wept. Then finding words he said,
Blessings on you, child, blessings on you. You are the son of a noble father. How sad it is that someone so bright and full of good deeds should have gone blind as he did.
He fell on the neck of his kinsman Tevye, and he wept. And his wife Edna wept for him. And so did his daughter Sarah. Raguel killed the ram from the flock, and they gave them a warm welcome. They washed, they bathed, and they sat down to table. Then Tevye said to Raphael,
Brother Azarias, will you ask Raguel to give me my sister Sarah now?
But Raguel overheard the words and said to the young man,
Oh, eat and drink and make the most of your evening, will you? No one else has the right to take my daughter Sarah. No one but you, my brother. In any case, I am not at liberty to give her to anyone else since you are her next of kin. However, my boy, I must be frank with you. I have tried to find her a husband for 7 times among our kinsmen, and all of them have died the first evening on going into her room. But for the present, my boy, eat and drink, for Yahweh will grant you his grace and peace, I'm sure.
Tevye spoke out,
I will not hear of eating or drinking until you come to a decision about me.
Raguel answered,
Very well, very well. Since by the prescription of the Book of Moses she is given to you, heaven itself decrees she shall be yours. I therefore entrust your sister to you. From now on you are her brother, and she is your sister. She is given to you from today forever, for Yahweh Elohim may favor you tonight, my child, and grant you his grace and peace. Aye, aye, aye.
Raguel called for his daughter Sarah, took her by the hand, and gave her to Tevye with these words,
I entrust you. The law and the ruling recorded in the Book of Moses assign her to you as your wife. Take her. Bring her home safe and sound to your father's house. The Elohim of Shemaim grant you a good journey and peace.
Then he turned to her mother and asked her to fetch him writing paper. He drew up the marriage contract, and so he gave his daughter as bride to Tevye, according to the ordinance of the law of Moshe. After this they began to eat and drink. Raguel called his wife Edna and said,
My sister, prepare the second room and take her there.
She went in and made the bed in this room, as he ordered her, and took her daughter to it. Now she wept over her, then wiped away her tears and said, Courage, daughter, courage. May Yahweh of Shemaim turn your grief to joy. Courage, my daughter. Oh, courage. And then she ran out. When they had finished eating and drinking, and it seemed time to go to bed, the young man was taken from the dining room to the bedroom. Tevye remembered Raphael's advice. He went to his bag, took the fish's heart and liver out of it, and put some on the burning incense. The reek of the fish distressed the demon, who fled through the air to Egypt. Raphael pursued him there, shackled him, and strangled him forthwith. The parents, meanwhile, had gone out and shut the door behind them. Tevye rose from the bed and said to Sarah,
"Get up, my sister. You and I must pray and petition Yahweh to win His grace and His protection."
She stood up, and they began praying for protection. And this was how he began.
"You are blessed, O Elohim of our fathers. Blessed too is your name forever and ever. Let the heavens bless you, and all things you have made forevermore. You it was who created Adam, and you created Chava, his wife, to be his help and support. And from these two human beings the race was born. You it was who said, 'It is not right that a man should be alone. Let us make him a helper like him.' And so I take my sister, not for any lustful motive, but I do it in singleness of heart. Be kind enough to have pity on her and on me, and bring us together even unto old age."
And together they said,
"Amen, amen."
And they lay down for the night. But Raguel rose and called his servants who came and helped him dig a grave. He had thought,
Heaven grant he does not die. We should be overwhelmed with ridicule and shame.
When the grave was ready, Raguel went back to the house and called his wife and said,
"Will you please send a maid to the room to see if Tevye is still alive? For if he is dead, we may be able to bury him without anyone else knowing."
They sent the maid in, lit the lamp, opened the door, and she went in. She found the two fast asleep together. She came out again and whispered,
"He is not dead. All is well."
Then Raguel blessed the Elohim of Shemaim with these words,
"You are blessed, my Elohim, with every blessing that is pure. May you be blessed forevermore. You are blessed for having made me glad this night, when I feared has not happened. Instead, you have shown us your boundless mercy. You are blessed for taking pity on this only son and this only daughter. Grant them, Master, your mercy and your protection. Let them live out their lives in happiness and in mercy."
and he made his servant go out and fill the grave before dawn broke. He told his wife to make an oven full of bread. He went to his flock, brought back 2 oxen and 4 sheep, and gave orders for them to be cooked, and preparations began. He called Tevye and said,
I will not hear of your leaving here for the 4th night. You are to stay where you are, eating and drinking with me. You will make my daughter happy again after all her troubles. After that, take away about half of all I have with you, and take her safe and sound back to your father. When my wife and I are dead, you shall have the other half. Courage, my boy. I am your father now, and Edna is your mother. We are your parents in future as well as your sisters. So courage, courage, my son.
Tobit, chapter 9. Then Tevye turned to Raphael.
"Brother Azarias," he said, "take 4 servants and 2 camels and leave for Ragas. Go to Gabriel's house, give him the receipt, and see about that money. Then invite him to come with you to my wedding feast. You know that my father must be counting the days and that I cannot lose a single one without worrying him. You see what Raguel has pledged himself to do. I am bound by his oath."
So Raphael left for Ragas in Media with the 4 servants and 2 camels. They stayed with Gabriel, and Raphael showed him the receipt. He told him about the marriage of Tevye, the son of Tevit, and gave him his invitation to the wedding feast. Gabriel started counting out the sacks to him. The seals were intact, and they loaded them on the camels. Early in the morning, they set off together for the feast, and reached Raguel's house, where they found Tevye dining. He rose to greet Gabriel, who burst into tears and blessed him with the words,
"Excellent son of a father beyond reproach, just and generous in his dealings. Yahweh give heaven's blessings to you, to your wife, to your wife's father and mother. Blessed be Elohim for granting me the sight of this living image of my cousin Tevit."
Every day, meanwhile, Tevit kept reckoning the days required for the journey there and the journey back. The full number went by, and still his son had not come, and he thought,
I hope he has not been delayed there. I hope Gabriel is not dead, so that no one will give him the silver.
And he began to worry. His wife Anna kept saying,
My son is dead. He is no longer among the living.
And she began to weep and mourn over her son. She kept saying,
Alas, I should never have let you leave me, my child, you, the light of my eyes.
And Tevit would reply,
Hush, my sister, do not worry. All is well with him. Something has happened there to delay them, that's all. His companion is someone we can trust, one of our kinsmen at that. Do not lose heart, my sister. He will soon be here.
But all she would say was,
Oh, leave me alone. Do not try to deceive me. My child is dead.
And every day she would go abruptly out to watch the road by which her son had left. She trusted no eyes but her own. Once the sun had set, she would come home again, only to weep and moan all night long, unable to sleep. After the 14 days of feasting that Raguel had sworn to keep for his daughter's marriage, Tevye came to him and said,
Oh, let me go now. My father and mother must have lost all hope of seeing me again. So I beg you, Father, let me return to my father's house. I have told you the plight he was in when I left him.
Raguel said to Tevye,
Oh, stay, my son. Stay with me. I shall send messengers to your father Tevit to give him news of you.
But Tevye pressed him.
No, I beg you to let me go back to my father's house.
So without any more ado, Raguel committed Sarah, his bride, into his keeping. He gave Tevye half of his wealth, slaves, men and women, oxen and sheep, donkeys and camels, clothes and money, and household things. And so he let them leave happily. To Tevye he said these parting words.
Good health, my son, and a happy journey to you. May Yahweh Shemaim be gracious to you and to your wife Sarah. I hope to see your children before I die.
To his daughter Sarah he said,
Go now to your father-in-law's house, since henceforth they are as much your parents as those who gave you life. Go in peace now, my daughter. I hope to hear nothing but good of you as long as I live.
He said goodbye to them and let them go. Edna, in her turn, said to Tevye,
Dear son and brother, may it please Yahweh to bring you back again. I hope to live long enough to see the children of you and my daughter Sarah before I die. In the sight of Yahweh, I give my daughter into your keeping. Never make her unhappy as long as you live. Go in peace, my son. Henceforward, I am your mother and Sarah is your sister. May we all live happily for the rest of our lives.
And she kissed them both and saw them set out happily. Tevye left Raguel's house with his mind at ease. In his gladness, he blessed Yahweh of heaven and earth, the King of all that is, for the happy issue of his travels. He gave his blessing to Raguel and to his wife Edna.
May it be my happiness to honor you for the rest of my life.
They were nearly at Kasserine, opposite Nineveh, when Raphael said, You know the plight in which we left your father. Let us go on ahead of your wife and prepare the house ourselves while she travels behind with the others. They went on together. Raphael warned Tevye to take the gall with him, and the dog followed them. Anna was sitting watching the road by which her son would come. She was sure at once it must be he, and said to the father,
Here comes your son with his companion.
Raphael said to Tevye before he reached his father, I give you my word that your father's eyes will be open. You must put the fish's gall to his eyes. The medicine will smart and will draw a filmy white skin off his eyes. And your father will no longer be blind, but he will be able to see the light. Hallelujah. The mother ran forward and threw her arms around her son's neck. Now I can die, she said.
I have seen you again.
She wept. Tevit rose to his feet and stumbled across the courtyard through the door. Tevye came on towards him. He had the fish's gall in his hand. He blew into his eyes and said, steadying him,
Take courage, father.
With this he applied the medicine, left it there a while, then with both hands peeled away a filmy skin from the corners of his eyes. Then his father fell on his neck and wept. He exclaimed,
I can see you, my son. I can see you, the light of my eyes.
And he said,
Blessed be Elohim. Blessed be his great name. Blessed be all his holy angels. Blessed be his great name, Yahweh, forever. For having afflicted me, he has had pity on me. And now I see my son, Tevye.
Tevye went indoors, joyfully blessing Elohim at the top of his voice. Then he told his father everything, how his journey had been successful, and how he had brought the silver back, how he had married Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, how she was following him now close behind and could not be far from the gates of Nineveh. Tevye set off to the gates of Nineveh to meet his daughter-in-law, giving joyful praise to Elohim as he went. When the people of Nineveh saw him walking without a guide and stepping forward as briskly as of old, they were astonished. Tevye described to them how Elohim had taken pity on him and had opened his eyes. Then Tevye met Sarah, the bride of his son Tevye, and blessed her in these words, Welcome, daughter. Blessed be your Elohim for sending you to us, my daughter. Blessings to your father. Blessings on my son Tevye. Blessings on yourself, my daughter. Welcome now to your own house in joyfulness and in blessedness. Oh, come in, my daughter. Now that day brought joy to the Jews of Nineveh, and his cousins Ahikar and Nadab came to share in Tevye's happiness. It was a family affair. When the wedding feast there was over, Tevye called his son Tevye and said, My son, you ought to think about paying the amount due to your fellow traveler now. Give him more than the figure we agreed upon.
Father, he replied, how much am I to give him for his help, you suppose? Even if I give him half the goods he brought back with me, I shall not be the loser. You see, he has brought me back safe and sound. He has cured my wife. He has brought the money back too. And now he has cured you as well. How much am I to give him for all this?
Tevye said, He has richly earned half of what he brought back. So Tevye called his companion and said,
Oh, take half of what you brought back in payment for all you've done for us, and go in peace, my friend.
Then Raphael took them both aside and said, Bless Elohim. Utter his praise before all the living, for the favor he has shown you. Bless and extol his name. Proclaim before all people the deeds of Elohim as they deserve, and never tire of giving him thanks. For it is right to keep the secret of a king, yet right to reveal and publish the works of Elohim as they deserve. Do what is good, and no evil can befall you. Prayer with fasting and alms and with uprightness are better than riches with iniquity. Better to practice almsgiving than to hoard up gold. Almsgiving saves from death and purges every kind of sin. Those who give alms have their fill of days. Those who commit sin and do evil bring harm on themselves. So I am going to tell you the whole truth, hiding nothing from you. I have already told you that it is right to keep the secret of a king, yet right too to reveal in a worthy way the words of Elohim. So you must know that when you and Sarah were at prayer, I was the one who was offering your supplications before the kavod of Yahweh, and who read them. So too when you were burying the dead, when you did not hesitate to get up and leave the table to go and bury a dead man, I was sent to test your faith. And at the same time Elohim sent me to heal you and your daughter-in-law Sarah. For I am Raphael, one of the 7 angels who stand ever ready to enter the presence of the glory of Yahweh. Now they were both overwhelmed with awe, and they fell on their faces in terror. But the angel said, Do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Bless Elohim forever. As far as I am concerned, when I was with you, my presence was not by any decision of mine, but by the will of Elohim. He is the one whom you must bless as long as you live. He the one that you must praise. You thought you saw me eating, but that was appearance and no more. Now, bless Yahweh on earth and give thanks to Elohim. I am about to return to him who sent me from above. Now write down all that has happened.
Write it all down so others may know. And Raphael rose in the air. When they stood up again, he was no longer visible. They all praised Elohim with hymns. They thanked him for having performed such wonders. Had not an angel of Elohim appeared to them? Tobit died when he was 112 years old and received an honorable burial in Nineveh. He had been 62 when he went blind, and after his cure he lived in comfort, practicing almsgiving and continually praising Elohim and extolling his greatness. When he was at the point of death, he summoned his son Tevye and gave him these instructions.
My son, take your children and hurry away to Media, since I believe the word of Elohim pronounced over Nineveh by Nahum. Everything will come true. Everything happened that the emissaries of Elohim, the prophets of Israel, had predicted against Assyria and Nineveh. Not one of their words will prove empty. It will all take place in due time. You will be safer in Media than in Assyria or Babylonia. Since I, for my part, know and believe that everything Elohim has said will come true, so it will be, and not a word of the prophecies will fail. The census will be taken of our brothers living in the land of Israel, and they will be exiled far from their own fair country. The entire territory of Israel will become a desert. And Samaria and Jerusalem will become a desert, and the house of Elohim for a time will be laid waste and burned. Then once again, El will take pity on them and bring them back to the land of Israel. They will rebuild its house, although it will be less beautiful than the first, until the time is fulfilled. But after this, all will return from captivity and rebuild Jerusalem in all her glory, and the house of Elohim will be rebuilt within her, as the prophets of Israel have foretold. And all the people of the whole world will be converted and will reverence our Elohim with all sincerity. All will renounce their false Elohim who have led them astray into this error, and will bless the Elohim of ages in uprightness. All the Israelites spared in those days will remember Yahweh in sincerity of heart. They will come together, my son. They will gather in Jerusalem and therefore dwell securely in the land of Abraham, which will be theirs. And those who sincerely love Elohim, they will rejoice. And those who commit sin and wickedness will vanish from the earth. And now, all my children, I lay this duty on you. Serve Elohim sincerely and do what is pleasing to him, and lay on your children the obligation to behave uprightly, to give alms, to keep Elohim in mind, and to bless his name always, sincerely and with all their might. So then, my son, leave Nineveh. Do not stay here. As soon as you have buried your mother next to me, go the same day, whenever it may be, and do not linger in this country where I see wickedness and perfidy unashamedly triumph.
Tobit died and was buried with honor. When his mother died, Tevye buried her beside his father. Then he left for Media with his wife and children. He lived with Raguel, his father-in-law. He treated the aging parents of his wife with every care and respect, and later buried them in Media. Tevye inherited the patrimony of Raguel, besides that of his father Tobit. Much honored, he lived to the age of 117 years. And before he died, he witnessed the ruin of Nineveh. He saw the Ninevites taken prisoner and deported to Media by Cyaxares, king of Media. He blessed Elohim for everything he inflicted on the Ninevites and Assyrians. Before his death, He had the opportunity of rejoicing over the fate of Nineveh, and he blessed Yahweh Elohim forever and ever. Amen.
This is your host. Thank you for listening. I hope you have enjoyed our variety show, Jackson Snyder Presents. This is a presentation of the Vero Essene Yahad in Vero Beach, Florida. If you would like more information about today's broadcast, email jackson@HebrewNation.net or visit HebrewNationOnline.com. Until we meet again, may Yahweh keep you safe and close to home.